Hello there, Eliza here, and how many of you guessed last time that I'd be covering Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987? Well, everyone who did, you're wrong. I felt it was time to cover an anime on Does It Hold Up, and I wanted it to be one of the first anime I ever saw. So I gave a call because I wanted some pepperoni. Because today we are talking about... Samurai Pizza Cats! Yeah, that. Unfortunately, nobody delivers pizza to where I am, not even quote-unquote samurai cats. So why did I choose this show as the first anime on this review series? One reason is to set down the rules for Does It Hold Up. For me to review it here, it has to be at least 10 years old, I had to have first seen it over 5 years ago, and it must have been primarily targeted to people under the age of 15 upon its initial release. The other reason, well, to get down to it, this is one of the things that helped form my sense of humor, namely the rapid-fire referential part of my sense of humor that this and the Spielberg cartoons reinforced. Unfortunately, unlike Sonic, where I know a lot about things like Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, Tom and Jerry to do comparisons to the humor they were attempting, I cannot do such breakdowns of why any jokes might be off here, and my knowledge of Japanese culture is limited despite having studied it in high school and college, and having dated two girls who were both born in Japan in the 2000s. None of that lets me know the history of Japan's pop culture, and as such, I will not be reviewing the original version of this, Kyatto Ninden Teyandee. Apologies for any mispronunciation of that, but I will be only solely covering the English adaptation of Samurai Pizza Cats. I will, however, point out that the original was not quite as comedic as the version adapted to the West. If I was to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, I would put this show at an 11 and the original Japanese version at about an 8 or a 9 in how comedic they were. It was also part of Haim Saban's long-running goal to bring more shows from Japan over to the US, something he had started doing in the 80s, but it didn't really start seeing success until Power Rangers. Further success would come from things like Digimon. Now, one of the few things about the series and the adaptation is they did not get clean masters, nor did they get clean transcripts or translations. So Saban had to just say, screw it, we'll do it all ourselves, a common utterance amongst the Saban workhouse back then. Still, the one major thing everyone brings up is, they aren't samurai, they are ninja. And the change from ninja to samurai was likely due to another series that dealt with anthropomorphic ninja and pizza. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles! Yeah, that. By the time Saban got the rights to SPC, TMNT was in its 4th or 5th season, and by the time it aired, it was in its 9th. Calling SPC anything ninja in a pre-internet bubble burst 90s would have likely led to the show tanking in the ratings. That being said, unlike other anime adaptations of the 80s and 90s, SPC let itself show off enough of Japan to start my love of Japanese architecture. Yes, this show helped influence both my taste in humor and start a lifelong love of Japanese architecture. Anyways, with that rather long ramble,
will somebody please cue that boy?
I think even the show wants me to get the review started already, so let's take a look to see if Samurai Pizza Cats holds up. Okay, now this is something I've wanted to talk about for a while. Anime OPs in the West during the 80s until the 2010s. Most of them, rather than using the intro created for the show in Japan, would take that opening and splice it with footage from the show to match their new song and set the tone for the show. Some did it because of length, but Samurai Pizza Cats did it solely due to the fact it changed the tone to US Western-style humor versus the Japanese-style humor. Still, it is one I will agree with because of the fast editing and the graphic cards designed solely for the dub. So who are these heroes who are stronger than old cheese and dirt?
This is Little Tokyo.
Like a lot of made-for-TV anime in the 80s and 90s, the panning stock shots actually does a good job at getting across the setting. And one of the things I have to point out is I love the rapid-fire nature of the announcer, which, since I've mentioned a few things about the anime, the announcer was not something made for the English dub. It's actually in the Japanese version as well. Like most anime of its time, it uses a lot of still frames with limited motion, like 1 or 2 things moving. This was done as a method of saving money for the scenes in the episode that actually need movement. The thing is, it actually helps with Speedy here taking food to the tables, as it makes him seem a lot faster than animation alone could. Granted, he has to be that fast to be a heck of a fighter or to make a heck of a lunch. Things seem like an average day at the pizza joint, as Speedy gets asked to deliver a pizza to Lucille. only for the wild romantic rover Guido Anchovy to knock him over and take the delivery. And I need to hold because you all need to hear how vicious Francine is for a second.
Tomcats, you can't live with them and you can't throw them down a well and drown them. There really ought to be a law.
Damn, girl. Also, I actually love this way of getting around the monetary problems that the Japanese studios, especially Tatsunoko, struggled with in the early 90s and late 80s. And they show off that it's not just laziness with the design. If you look at the feet, there are treads on the bottom of them, which allow them to move in a way that's similar to how
Mega Man
moves. And speaking of...
And now for something completely different.
I am to this day still surprised more people haven't noticed the similarities between the design of the three Pizza Cats and the mobile suits that were on the White Base and MS Gundam. Speedy Cervece, the leader of the bunch, bears the same colorization of the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Little Polyester has the same colors as the gun cannon, give or take a few. She doesn't have as much white as the gun cannon had. And Guido Anchovy has the colors of the gun tank, which is kind of neat. Heck, even Bad Bird and the Ninja Crows kind of have the colorizations of the Zaku. This entire segment of them trying to deliver the pizza reminds me of those Tom and Jerry cartoons where Tom falls in love with a girl cat and he and another cat fight for the affection. It's classic comedy.
I got a clause in my contract says I don't have to do this slapstick stuff. Hey, somebody get my agent on the phone right now.
And that meta humor is one of the reasons I love this show. So, for the longest time, I didn't know what type of animaloid Lucille was supposed to be, so I actually looked it up for this review. And apparently she's supposed to be a sheep, which is very interesting to me because she has ram horns. I always thought those horns were some kind of jewelry. Maybe... Okay, this might be me, but maybe she's a trans woman, but that would be way too progressive for an anime made in Japan in the very early 90s, so unlikely, as well as with a line that's coming up very soon. But it's a neat theory idea. The horns were probably there to help people more realize she was a sheep, but the problem is, it made me less realize that. Still, Lucille seems rather oblivious or opportunistic towards the two guys fighting over her, but there I do have to ask one thing. How did this line make it past the censors?
There once was a beauty named Lucille, whose pretty puss could make a pussycat reel. Her lovers would sigh.
Seriously, S&P went after Alex for having the words chub pup on a shirt, as seen here.
Page 14. Please revise chub pup on t-shirt. Chub as a sexual connotation.
Yet this line makes it past censors no problem?
Not S&P approved has been approved by S&P.
I don't understand S&P. Well, it looks like Guido is now down with a love hangover, and immediately after there's a joke I'm not going to comment on because I don't want to get into a thing. But that being said, I do love the Itano circus-style missiles from Lucille's head, as well as the design of this robot dragon. It kind of looks like something I'd expect to see in Mega Man, and they rightfully knew to hold off on some of the animation budget for this to show off the dragon, especially with the damage, devastation, and panic it causes. I mean, the dragon even destroys a retirement home for Ninja Turtles that have far less hair than the Pizza Cats. Now, I know some of you will probably make a comment of me having a problem with Sonic nodding and winking to the audience in disguise and not calling out the scene here.
The speechless Speedy suddenly spots the serpent's sinister secret.
With Speedy and the Dragon. But my rebuttal to that is, well, I'm going to play you a few clips really quickly. Just listen. The sound design. The announcer.
This is Little Tokyo.
The overacting.
Ninja crows are flying at thing. Oh my gosh. So they're up to their old tricks again, huh?
Does it remind you of anything? It's a radio play. The dubbers turned the anime into a radio play. This is likely one of the few anime a blind person could watch. And it actually helps it hold up a bit more than it would have. We get a great introduction to the duplicitous Big Cheese and Al Dente. Not so much Emperor Fred or Princess Vi, but they do get their moments in later episodes. And I especially love how hammy, old-school villainous they make Big Cheese. Again, it works for them turning the anime into a radio play. Also, I just noticed this, but it kind of helps further the Gundam connection I pointed out earlier. Geriatric wears red armor and has a white helmet, like Char, who has a red Zaku, wears red clothing, and has a white helmet. However, I do have a problem with them using the exact same scene multiple times from earlier as part of the dragon's second and later on third attack. And since this is essentially an animated tokusatsu, we get a henshin and launch sequence. Which, by the way, this is kind of a reference to something I've seen. Cyber Ninja, which is a great movie if you ever get the chance to see it. And there's a great extra verse to the Samurai Pizza Cat song as they launch, which is awesome. The fight scene is very early animated in its execution with quick cuts between showing the attack and the person being attacked. It doesn't really hold up when you think about Digimon, which was known for being the master of the style and actually did it better. Though I do love the post-battle pose and the main villain freak out back at their base. Very Power Rangers-esque, dubbed by the same people that made Power Rangers. And before the credits, a full minute-long look at the next episode. Something we'd see a lot more of from Saban, with Power Rangers doing it as well as Digimon, as well as a fan club oath, which that one I don't think I've seen in any other show. Still, the outro adds in even more lyrics to the theme song, where they mention this is the best they could have done with what they had, and turning a Japanese comedy anime that parodies Tokusatsu and Gundam into a radio drama as an animated series. That's actually an inspired decision. So with all that said, does Samurai Pizza Cats Episode 1 Stop Dragging My Cat Around hold up? Again, like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, I have to say yes and no. The animation does not hold up for this, even for its time. Yes, anime has always used a lot of cheats, usually to save for a big scene either in that episode or a later one. The problem is we are judging just this episode, and the animation is mostly flat. There is a lot of good art and a few good uses of animation, but the action scene at the end where that animation should have been saved for falls apart. That said, comedy-wise, some of it might not hold up, especially the era-relevant ones, but others do depending on your type of humor. There is one thing that absolutely holds up, though.
Presentation!
The choice to have this be a radio drama in animated form actually helps it hold up so much. That simple, inspired decision makes the show almost timeless, despite being so very 90s. If you have a desire to watch a good comedy or see a 90s attempt to keep radio dramas alive as an animated series, give this a watch. By the way, if you all enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I have a Patreon, which starting next month, you get access to the videos in advance, access to my private Discord, polls on upcoming episodes, and my scripts. The Patreon helps me make this show and others better for all of you watching. I also have a Twitter you can follow me on. Oh, and remember to circulate the links. Now, originally, I was going to mention that next week would be X-Men Decoded Episode 2, and then in 2 weeks would be Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. But something happened that caused me to rearrange my schedule, because the creator of something that heavily influenced my life passed away. So join me next week when we unite in friendship and have faith in the heart of the cards.